I was cleaning up the shop the other day and ran across these buckets of slag that I've been saving. I think there's still precious metals in here. On today's video, we're gonna re-smelt this down, figure out if there's any more gold and silver left in the slag, and get it out because the price of gold and silver is so high right now, it's probably worth it. That tells me that there's some precious metals worth recovering, so we're on the right track here. All right, the big reveal. Here we go. So this is our stuff. This is all the slag that I've smelted for the last several years. There's some glassy stuff, there's some basic stuff, there's some powdery stuff, there's some sharp stuff. Some of them came out really well, others were complete disasters. It just all goes in these buckets. So today I'm gonna take some of my larger crucibles and a larger cone mold. We'll smelt all this down, use some chemistry. So let's get some crucibles loaded up with this stuff and see what we can find. We're gonna try this number 30 crucible here. This is probably too big for this little furnace, but hopefully I can get it so it sits down below the rim here. I'm using this crucible just for the volume. I wanna smelt down as much as I can at a single whack here. So let me see if I can get this to fit in this furnace, and then we'll load it up with slag. So here's an interesting little thing. I put cement down on the bottom of my furnace, so when things spill or break, it doesn't destroy the fire brick underneath. And there's probably some precious metals in this, so we're gonna just put that right in our crucible. And I want to get this out of here so I can get a little bit more room for the crucible to sit down in there. So there's a bunch of slag from the bottom of the furnace there. There's a huge amount of empty space there. So I'm going to start taking our, ooh, it's heavy. Taking our other slag and just kind of packing it around. I believe I can add more slag to it as it starts to melt down. But yeah, look at some of this nasty stuff. Just get it all in there and get some more gold and silver out of it. All right, our crucible is full to the brim, and I've added some extra borax lumps in there. One of the reasons I've added the borax is to help things fluidize and get going as the borax melts. But the other reason is borax is a pretty acidic flux. And what that'll do is if the slag is saturated with iron matte, which I do that a lot in my experiments, the borax will turn the slag more acidic, which will force some of that iron matte out of solution, and it'll help collect down at the bottom. Because I don't have a lot of collector metal in here, I don't want a bismuth button that's 10 pounds. I'm gonna try and use the borax acidity and the iron matte that we make to help bring things down to the bottom of that cone mold once we pour it. But that's the idea with the borax. If I just melted it all together as is, I'm worried that we wouldn't have enough stuff to come down to the bottom and collect. The key here is gonna be heat this very slowly. If you heat it up really, really fast, you end up with a molten pool of slag and a cold center that still has a bunch of water and a bunch of stuff in there that's gonna come off as gas. And as that slag melts down and you have that cold center and it starts releasing all this gas, it bubbles and froths and makes a whole huge mess in your furnace. So you gotta heat it up really, really slow before it gets covered in molten slag, or you'll have a huge mess in your hands. I can see a bunch of little beads get revealed essentially as that slag starts to melt, and I think that's either precious metal beads that were missed in the slag for some reason, too thick, matte layer, whatever, or they're collector metal beads like lead and bismuth that, again, were tied up in the slag somehow. So I'm really encouraged that I'm actually seeing metallic beads right in the slag as it melts. that gives me some indicator that we might have some precious metals trapped in this stuff, and it might end up being worth it in the long run. While we wait for that stuff to smelt down, I wanted to give you guys a sneak peek of an upcoming video. We are getting into gold refining mode here. I've got a little over 1 kilogram of gold-filled jewelry. I'm gonna get this prepared to use an acid bath, recover the gold and silver, and see how much we can recover. There might be an ounce of gold here, guys. There could be $4,000 or $5,000 worth of gold in this bag. Now we just got to get it out. And to do that, we're getting all set up with this fume hood. We've got our acids figured out. We've got a bunch of stuff here, glassware and everything. We are getting all geared up to refine some gold and silver. I'm really, really excited about it. Not only can we do jewelry and other stuff like that, but we can also refine the gold out of my mine. And so we can get really pure gold for coins, other stuff, jewelry that we might make from it. So stay tuned for all those videos. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss it. But now let's get back to smelting. Well, I'm just about to do my second pour of the day. In that number 30 Crucible, I can get just about half of a 5-gallon bucket in there when it's all melted down. I think I'm gonna have 5 smelts all together, so it'll spill into tomorrow. But what I'm finding is on this smelt, I've had to add a lot more iron than the first one. The first one, I added a few nails and a couple of steel rods, and they didn't get eaten up. And then this smelt, man, I've been adding iron, and it keeps getting dissolved. So I know there's a lot of matte in this one. Hopefully that results in a lot of silver and some gold that comes out of solution and down into our button, but we'll see. I'm really excited about that first one. I got a little bit of bismuth metal at the bottom there, maybe 50 or 100 grams. If I can get 2 or 3 additional grams of gold out of each one of these, I mean, that would make it worth it. If I could get 5 grams today and 5 grams tomorrow of gold, that would be well within what's reasonable on cost-wise for recovering this gold and silver. So I'm excited to see what I can get out of the metal, but let's keep going and get the rest of the slag processed.
Oh, it's hot, pouring. Let's get this close to the crucible. It's hot.
Oh, dang it. I knew that was a possibility. What happened was it's still too hot, and the little bit of metal that was at the bottom of the cone had not solidified yet. And I've seen that happen when you mix lead and bismuth together. They both individually have a melting point of about 600 degrees, Fahrenheit, which I'm pretty sure we're below here. But when you mix them together, that melting point goes way down, like 200, 300 degrees Fahrenheit. I should have cleaned the slag out of that bin before I dumped it in. Now I've got metal splashed all over all my old slag too, so that's really disappointing. The reason I needed to turn it over is because I've got that third smelt ready to go, ready to pour, so I needed my cone mold. So that's where I'm at. Let's go pour this last pour of the day and come back tomorrow and figure out how to clean that mess up. Well, I've got as much of the metal covered slag as I can pulled over here. I may just melt it back down. I'm curious, before I go, I want to see if there's a big matte layer here, which there does not appear to be. Slag pretty much down to the metal. So that's good. I'm just really bummed that all my metal splattered everywhere. Man, oh man. Well, let's finish up this project tomorrow. All right, first look after our kind of disaster metal pour yesterday. We've got our slag here, nice and cold now. I've got metal splattered all over here. I got to figure out how to get off. It was yesterday when I left, it was still hot enough, the slag was still hot enough that all the metal over here was still molten. And so it stayed hot for a long time. But let's see if I can get that metal recovered, figure out what's in this slag pile behind us, and then we'll get another one in the furnace. Here's our fourth smelt. Don't breathe that. I won't be able to fit it all. I still got a little bit left. We'll probably have one more small smelt after this. All right, we've done 4.5 pours. Got all of our slag processed. I just put in a number 10 crucible with all the rest of our little beads and all the metal I spilled, and it's got all over the slag and everything, which is again disappointing.
There's a little bit of quartz that hasn't been dissolved by the slag.
I'm just gonna melt it all back down and pour essentially one final button that we can then cupel. That's a lot of work. There's a lot of time involved. Propane, I probably used $40, $50 worth of propane. I hope there's gold in there, I think is where I'm going. Silver won't do it. I need 5 to 10 grams of gold. there's two outcomes, right? One is, yeah, we got a bunch of gold and it was worth it to remelt all my slag, which is gonna irritate me because that means I haven't been smelting very well and the recovery isn't very good. Or the other outcome, which might actually be better, is, hey, we didn't get hardly any gold or silver at all, and I've melted ounces and ounces and ounces of gold and silver in this stuff, in this slag, and getting a 99+% recovery would be pretty darn cool. So really, either outcome will tell us a lot of information, and one, we make money, and the other one, we get some valuable information, and I really don't have to worry about the slag anymore at all. Progress report. I got my last pour here. That is the splashed metal on the slag, as well as most of my other slag buttons. I've got one slag button over on the table. Not slag, what am I talking about? Metal. I've got one button over on the table. I've got 2 or 3 in there, and I've got one in there that we still need to get out. So I got to let all this stuff cool down, Cupel it down to gold and silver, and see how much we get. But while we wait for all that slag to cool, let's check out this little button here. I think it's cool enough. So that definitely has a gold tinge to it, probably somewhere between 50 and 75% gold by weight. So we recovered 1.5 grams. So there's probably a gram of gold there. At a gram of gold, that's 1/5 roughly of what we did. There might be 5 grams in there. The question is, does that button represent the average across all the stuff that I smelted? Or is that like the one smelt I really screwed up on, or the couple I really screwed up on with a lot of gold, and it's enriched in gold compared to the other ones? That tells me that there's some precious metals worth recovering though, so we're on the right track here. Well, let's cross your fingers here that this is cool enough to where our metal will be solid. Huh. It always sticks in the bottom of this mold for some reason, which is in some ways good. I don't know why. No. Okay. Now where is it? Well, look at this little tiny bead. There's hardly anything there. I don't know if that juice is worth the squeeze, huh? But we're being scientists, so. And here we got this one. This is where I think I got 2 or 3 beads all together here. Oh boy, that's a lot of metal. Oh man. Okay. Slag looks pretty good. That's a lot. That's a lot to deal with. Is there mat in here? I'm not sure what I'm looking at here. I think I got metal here and mat above it. Well, maybe not. It's got a lot of lead in it. That was back when I was using lead, I guess. Yeah, 216 grams. That's a lot of metal. What are we? This is all of our metal combined. It's 243 grams. And then I've already Cupelled that one. We'll just start eating away at that bismuth lead alloy and see if we got any precious metals here. All right, now we'll take our combined metal, collector metal prills here, pyramids, whatever you want to call them. We'll get them in, uh-oh, I put the glove in the wrong hand. There we go. We'll put them in this preheated Cupel here. See what kind of precious metals we can get. There we go. Here's 13 pounds of slag. I picked out pieces from various parts of the smelting experiment. We're going to run it down through this little 5x6 jaw crusher and then through the pulverizer. One of the last things I want to try while that stuff is getting Cupelled in the furnace, I want to crush some of this slag up, pulverize it, and pan it out and see if there's little tiny bits of metal in there that we missed. And that'll kind of be our final check to see if we really truly got our slag clean. And if there is any little bits of metal, we can Cupel those and kind of figure out how much we lost to the slag. Let's get our slag panned down, see if we got any little BBs in there. Oh, what do we got here? Yeah, there's some balls there, some little metallic looking balls. Not much, but there's enough there that you probably want to get them. That was, like I showed you, just a little bit of the slag, just a pan full. What we can do in the future is we can take all that slag, run it through the turnkey system, and all this will come out on the table, and then we can smelt it down. Which begs the question, do we even need to resmelt it in the first place? Do we just run it through the turnkey system and scavenge whatever we can? Well, we're waiting for that last little bit to Cupel. I had an idea. I have crushed up all the slag here. I have 11 bags. It's going on Shopify right now. You can find a link down below. And a lot of other creators on YouTube have been buying my stuff and doing reviews and trying to get gold out of it. And it's kind of cool. I've created like this little YouTube ecosystem. So check out other creators that maybe are buying my slag, trying to get the gold out, and see if they do a better job than I do.
This box just arrived.
Looks like gold and copper plating.
It crushes, it doesn't break. That is gold.
If you want to get your hands on a bag, it's on eBay right now. I'll leave a link down in the description below. All right, the big reveal. Here we go. How much is left in there? Nice button, looks yellow. See what it looks like when it cools down. All right, moment of truth. This is our last button. 3 grams. And it is yellow. So I think there's probably 2 grams of gold in there. And our first button had about 1 gram of gold. So I think we have 3 grams of gold total, which at today's price is about $450, $500. That was a long way to go for 500 bucks. Let me tell you, that was 2 or 3 days worth and a lot of screwing around. But there is some precious metals left in our slags. It would definitely be worth running them through the turnkey system and onto the table to concentrate that. It's not just junk. So thanks everybody for watching. We'll see you on the next video.